so to make lemon chicken, you want to get your pan hot, about medium-high heat, and add about 2 to 3 tablespoons maybe of extra virgin olive oil. This is the brand I just happen to be using today, but I use any extra virgin olive oil that's really rich and green and good. And then I've breaded some chicken strips, and I've cut them even into thinner strips. And in the breading is flour, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. And I don't really measure, I just kind of add in to my taste. And I want to kind of distribute them, make sure that they're all in oil. And shake the pan around to make sure it gets evenly distributed. I don't want to get it too crowded, but I want to get these about 3 to 3.5 minutes on each side. Alright, so after about 3 minutes, that side is lightly brown, and I want to turn these all over so the other side can get about, this is probably going to take about 2 minutes or so. You don't really have to cook them through because they're going to cook later in the gravy, and they will continue cooking, but just turn them over and let them continue cooking for about 2.5 to 3 minutes. I add a little extra oil because if your pan gets dry, it will burn. Alright, so after these have had a couple minutes on that other side, I start taking them out. Again, remember, if they are not cooked through, it is okay. Most of these actually are because they're so small, and I like the smaller the chicken, the better. But the bigger pieces might still be a little pink. And I'm going to add a little more oil before I start adding in the second batch. And it gets hot right away. You can see that the chicken is cooking immediately. And I just add in that second batch. And this gives me plenty of chicken. I think maybe I use 6 total or maybe 7 total chicken tenderloins, and then just cut them into smaller strips to make these 2 batches. If you prefer bigger pieces of chicken, you can use a whole chicken breast, but I just don't like that big piece of chicken in this recipe. I'd like for smaller strips. You can see I've added some more oil because as it cooks, that flour sops up that oil, and you do not want that burnt flavor. Alright, so this batch has cooked for 2 to 3 minutes on each side, and they are mostly done. Some may not be quite done, but I'll set them aside and add my onion into that oil. And this onion is just going to have enough time to cook until it's opaque and soft. About 3 or 4 minutes. Stir that around also. Alright, once my onions have cooked long enough and they're soft, I just take a couple of handfuls of flour from my bag and want to get it all throughout that oil and stir it up. It's going to make big globs of oily flour onion mixture. But I want to cook that flour just a couple, or actually maybe about 30 seconds or so, and get it all incorporated. So you cook the flour a little bit and you don't just have that plain white flour taste. Got about 3 cups of chicken broth that I've made with that Better Than Bouillon chicken base. But you can use chicken broth out of the can or the box, or make yours with a bouillon cube if you'd like. But you need about 3 cups to start off with, and I actually had to go and make another cup of broth because that was not going to be enough. Once I start incorporating the clumps of flour, I want to get all those lumps out of there with my whisk. And when I saw that it was going to be thicker, I actually go back and add another cup of chicken broth. Because as this cooks and as you get that chicken added back into your gravy, it will thicken a little more as well. So I go and add a little bit more chicken broth after it has simmered. You'll see that in just a minute. Alright, so I've got all the clumps broken up, and I noticed that it does need that extra cup of broth. So I have 2 cups of broth made up, but I only used 1. So right now there's going to be a total of 4 cups of liquid because I've added so much flour earlier to my onion and oil. So I add the chicken back in, and remember that breading on that chicken is also going to thicken that gravy. So I'm going to stir that around, let it simmer for just a minute. And then I'm going to add my lemon. I love my lemon squeezer. So I'm going to add the juice of 1.5 lemons. And that gives this that lemony flavor. You can add more or less if you like more or less lemon flavor. That's just totally up to you. But Then I'm going to let that simmer. I'm going to add in also a few sprigs of fresh thyme, but you can actually chop that thyme up and leave it in there. I'm going to take it out later. But this is going to cover and simmer about 10 minutes. Alright, so I'm going to get my pot ready with some salt so I can cook my noodles. You can also make this on brown rice, which is my husband's favorite way to eat it. It's over brown rice. And so you just spoon over your chicken and your gravy onto the brown rice. There it is. Put some thyme in there, but he won't eat that. But here's my boiling water, and I just use thin spaghetti, whatever pasta you like. This also goes really well on garlic mashed potatoes, so you can choose your starch to put this on, and it's good anyway. And so here my noodles are ready, and I just spoon it over, and there's my lemon chicken, and it's yummy. I hope you enjoy it. Voila.